Well, welcome to our live stream event. My name is Cody Patterson. I'm the marketing director here at Renewed Vision. In the stream, we'll be showing off what's next in ProPresenter. We're going to be showing some free content that we have available, and we're going to give you the opportunity to try out everything that you see. For someone who's with us and watching while this is live, I'd be curious to know, how many organizations have more than like one or two computers running ProPresenter? How many of you are running 10 or 15? Who in this stream has the most computers running ProPresenter? That'd be really cool to see. But also, of course, if you have one or two, comment that as well. While you're doing that, we'll get started with what we have to show off today. Everything that we are talking about today is going to be available to anyone who currently subscribes to ProPresenter Plus as of today. And while some of this may not be available as a final release until another date, anyone who has ProPresenter Plus as of today's beta release will get access to the final release as well. One of the top reasons for any improvements that happen inside of ProPresenter is all because of you. So we thank you for always being a part of our community, and we continue to value your feedback. So continue to give us feedback even through this process for this beta as we talk today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and just see what you think about everything that we're showing off. So let's get started. In 2019, Hillsong United went on the People Tour. The first part of their stage setup is, and essentially every venue that they went to was made up of a huge production screen that they projected imagery or even just color onto. The second part is a really wide LED wall, which most people refer to as a lyric strip. On the lyric strip, they had their lyrics presented as scrolling text. So instead of just basic static text on their stage, their lyrics were scrolling, creating a really immersive experience for the people at their concerts. Well, now you can create a similar look right within ProPresenter. Today we are introducing a truly refined editor tool in ProPresenter called Scrolling Text. Scrolling text enables you to create really immersive experiences for your audience, whether online or in person. Up, down, left, right. Your text can go whatever direction you'd like. Control the speed, allow the text to repeat or not, determine the distance at which it repeats, and even add a specified delimiter between your repeats in place of line returns. This is scrolling text, and you'll be able to try it out today. So let's dive in and see how some of these looks can be achieved. Maybe you're in a big room and you use iMag to show off your talent on stage onto bigger projection screens so everyone in the room can see. Well, now on top of that video, you could create a really unique look with scrolling lyrics that goes up the screen vertically. So let's show that in ProPresenter. Let's go over to my themes. And we'll create a new theme. Let's call it scrolling text. Just because we're going to work with a lot of scrolling text today. And we'll go ahead and create that scrolling text look for the text. Let me put in some sample here. All right, and let's take that and we'll bold it up, make it a little bigger. You can add all caps in there. Let's do a line transform so just one word shows up per line. I think that'll look good. And then let's also change the line spacing so that we have a little bit more space between all of our lines. Cool, I like that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the new scrolling area of our editor. As you can see here at the top, we have the ability to scroll left, right, up, or down. For this example, we're gonna choose up. And then we're gonna leave the start position at automatic. That way when we trigger slides, the text is in the center of the screen. But if you wanted to, you could select off screen, and what would happen is the text would come in from the bottom and go to the top then. We'll go ahead and slow down the speed and add in some feathering so that it looks really cool with like a faded in and faded out look. We'll let it keep repeating so that the text keeps repeating and coming on and off the screen. And then we'll leave the distance as is. Let me show you an example of what that'll look like. Here on the bottom left, you'll see it feathering in from the bottom. And then as it goes up towards the top of that text box, it'll start to feather out. Okay. Let's go ahead and apply this theme that we've made to a song. And let's have some broadcast footage going in the background just to see what it would look like. And I'll scroll through the text. So it's that easy to apply a lyric look to a song that has scrolling text. So creating lyrics is one really unique use for scrolling text. But next we're going to look at creating a message to display on your screens. A really common use case for this in houses of worship is to put a parent's code and classroom info on your audience screens to alert them to come to the kids area. So let's go to our messages show control. And here we'll go ahead and create a new message. We can call this kids pager. And we'll put in some message details that we want to show on the screen. A lot of times they're just random letters and numbers for those kids call IDs. And then we'll say, please come to kids check-in. All right, now in order for us to show that on the screen, we have to apply a template. And since I don't have a scrolling text template for this yet, we'll go ahead and create a new one. I think it'll look cool if it goes along the bottom of the screen and scrolls. Let's add background color. We'll make it ProPresenter orange because of course we're in ProPresenter, so that this is the way. And then we'll make that bold. Cool, that looks good to me. So now we can choose that template here in our messages. And, oh wait, what we didn't do was we didn't add scrolling to it. That's pretty easy. So we'll go back into the editor here. We created the text, but we didn't add scrolling. So now we go into the scrolling here, and let's keep it so that it's moving left. For this one, I am going to set the start position to off screen, and I'll slow it down a little bit. I'm not going to have it feather because I just want it to go from right to left and not feather onto the screen. And then I don't want it to repeat. I just want it to go one time. Okay. So now if we click show, that'll show up here in our preview window. And it's scrolling across the screen. And it's really easy if we wanted to come back in here and use this at another point. We don't have to reselect the template. It's already applied to this message. All we have to do is change out the number or change out the text that we want. We can hide the previous one. We can show this one. So now we have a new kids ID on there. So that's one great way to use scrolling text. The last use I'd love to show off today is going to look pretty similar, but could really be a way to take your live stream up a level. Many times at the beginning of a live stream, organizations will have some people talking before the main show starts. It's a great way to engage with your audience and provide some extra context or information that they wouldn't have gotten just from watching the main event. In ProPresenter, it's common to send just a specific layer to a live stream and not show that layer in person. And so we're going to show how to do that today with props. So I've already created some props in here. You can see I have 3 different ones, and we'll go ahead and clear this so I can show them what they look like. Let's look at this group announcement and countdown. So this one has a countdown timer on it, as well as scrolling text that comes in from the side. And it's just predetermined text that I typed out. So I said, welcome groups launched this week. Basically just an announcement that could happen over a live stream. So let's put some footage behind it so you can see what that would actually look like if this was a live stream. So right there, that looks pretty cool. Like you have people talking before your show. They're talking about what's going on. There's an announcement happening below them. And of course, since this is a prop, we would also want our timer to be going so we could start our 5-minute countdown timer. And so that's going on the prop. And then I have another one below that, and it's an RSS feed. So if I click that, it's going to go ahead and it changes over the text here for me. And it's changing it to a feed from a website that has weather and news and a forecast in it. And that an RSS feed automatically populates from online. So if you have a URL, what you can do is you can bring it in and use that as text that ProPresenter pulls in for your feed. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I made these. So let's go to the editor for props. And as you can see, this is just a regular scrolling text box. I have it set to start off screen, scroll left, very similar to what we did earlier. And then I also have this countdown here with linked text. It's linking to a timer that we have set up. And then in this one, this is another text box, but the text is coming from linked text, and that text is the RSS feed. So I chose RSS feed, I found a URL online, put it in there, and it immediately started pulling in our weather data for us. So from these examples of scrolling text, you can see how there are some really cool looks that you can create, and also some really practical use cases for it as well. But today, scrolling text isn't the only thing that we have to show you. While I have been working with messages and props inside of show controls, you may have noticed a new icon in there. That's because we have a brand new show control available. Let's talk about macros. Building and running your show is simple with macros. Macros consist of any number of actions and can be automatically triggered at the startup of ProPresenter, from a slide, via a communications device like MIDI or DMX, or even directly in the macros show control. Trigger a stage screen layout change, an audio playlist, and even start a timer, all at the same time with a single macro. All right, I have 2 macro examples here already. And then we also have the ability to use the plus button to create another macro. Let's talk about what we have here. So my first one is what I named clear safe. This is just an example of how you can use macros to do really anything you want. And so what I did was I created my own custom clear. So instead of using the clear all here on the side of ProPresenter, I actually created a clear in my macros. And what I've done with that is I've added all of the actions that I wanted to clear everything except my announcements layer and my video input layer. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. So the reason I did that was because maybe at some point I have announcements going out to a TV in my lobby, and I don't want to ever clear those during the service. Like I've just got a show going and I clear all, and it clears all my announcements. Well, that's not very fun. You want that to keep going. Same with a video input. Maybe you're streaming from ProPresenter. Well, you don't ever want to clear your video input. And so what I've done here is I've actually added all of the layers that I want to clear: audio, media, props, slide messages, and left out my announcements layer and my video input layer. That way, anytime this macro is queued, it's clearing only the layers that I actually want to be cleared. The next one on the list is house lights up. Basically, this is just a lighting scene. So instead of putting multiple actions inside of this macro, all I did was put one action. It's a MIDI action. This MIDI could go and control my light board, my lighting software, whatever it is. I just chose to use this example that if my operator was in here right now and we needed to turn the house lights up, all we'd have to do is click house lights up and it's up. So now another common scenario that we can see happening is someone wanting to start ProPresenter and automatically have things run for them. So we're going to do that. We're going to create a new macro and we're going to call it startup. All right, in this macro, we'll go ahead and set it to trigger on startup. And we'll put a logo in there. We'll put the ProPresenter logo. And let's add an action. And we'll do audio. So now what should happen is when ProPresenter restarts, it'll automatically start playing our music and the logo. There you go. Because startup had trigger on startup selected, our music is playing and our logo is showing. That's pretty powerful. So earlier we worked with props a little bit, but one of the things you might have noticed was that I had to actually trigger my timer separate from my prop, which was kind of annoying. But now, because of macros, we can combine any actions we want. So we could actually create a new macro. Maybe this is the one to trigger all of our pre-show graphics and our prop at the same time. Let me add in an audience look, and we'll add in our prop that we had earlier, and we'll add in our timer. All right, I'll go ahead and clear what we're currently working on. So now if I trigger this, it's going to trigger our time on our prop as well as our scrolling text. All right, and the last macro kind of scenario that I'd love to talk with you about today is one of the things that I know in my personal situation that I deal with a lot is every single week I'm going through and checking all of my slides to make sure they have all the actions that I need on them. The problem with that is sometimes I miss an action and then things don't fire up correctly, but also it's time consuming. One of the beauties of macros is you can simply drag a macro onto a slide to trigger it. And so we're actually going to show you what it might look like to run your show and set up your show that way. And so let's talk about some different sections that you might do in your show or in your service, kind of like a order of service per se. You might have a pre-service action or macro, and then you might have a first song or second song macro, and then your message, and then your post-service. Those are some examples of how you could set up your show, and then you could just drag over that macro onto a slide to trigger it. But I'm gonna create one called Fast Song. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and drag in my clear safe to that fast song, because macros can have macros inside of them. So now whenever I click on this macro, it's going to clear only the things that I want to clear, but also all of the other actions that I'm now going to add in there. So we're going to add in an audience look. We're going to add in a stage layout. And you know what? I want to put a motion background inside my macro. So let's choose a fast one here, because we're doing the fast song. Cool. All right, and now we can go in and we can drag this onto the song that we want to use it for. And I can trigger that slide, and it cleared the prop that wasn't supposed to be there anymore. And now we can go through and run through our song. And now here's the thing. Since macros just reference actions, we can actually go in and we can change this background on that macro. And I can just refire that same macro, and now we have a new background. I didn't have to go in, and I don't have to have a motion background on this actual slide. It can just stay within my macro, and I can change any of my actions out in my macro, and it'll work every time. They'll always reference back to that macro. Macros are useful for setting up your show, and they are also useful for running your show. Whether your operator controls them, or they are controlled through a communications device, or even via slides, macros will empower you to do more. Scrolling text and macros will both be available today. You can download them. You can download this beta for ProPresenter 7.6 within updates in ProPresenter's preferences once it is available later today. Of course, we also love to give away free content, and so we have a brand new theme available on ProPresenter.com/free. This theme is called Influence. It makes use of some of the very subtle scrolling text examples. As you can see on that middle top slide, there's the subtitle is scrolling along the bottom, and then on the slides on the left side, you can see the subtitle scrolling along the left edge of it, which is pretty neat. We also have a free motion pack called VHS Gradients. It's available now from ProPresenter.com/free. As always, we can't wait to see what you create with these new enhancements to ProPresenter, and we value your feedback. Since these features are in beta, the place to go to provide feedback on your experience is directly to our support team. Thanks so much for being a part of this live stream today and for being a part of our community. We hope this update today enables you to share the greatest stories ever told.